Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It is Friday, the 25th day of September. It is Quesadilla Day. I like quesadillas.
I do too.
I like chicken quesadillas. I like cheese quesadillas. I like steak quesadillas. I think I like every kind of quesadilla. Also, National One Hit Wonder Day today. Here's the thing that's really sad. I've talked to a couple of artists that are considered one hit wonders, and sometimes it's almost like they're bitter that they only had one hit instead of being happy that they had a hit. Think about how many no-hit wonders there are.
Right.
So if you're a one-hit wonder, I love you, man. That's awesome. National Comic Book Day today, National Lobster Day, National Tune-Up Day, National Research Administrators Day, Math Storytelling Day, and National Brave Day. All of that happening on this Friday. And I got a guest coming up today. I've got David Stebenne, and he's got a book called Promised Land, How the Rise of the Middle Class Transformed America, 1929 to 1968. That's coming up in a bit.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. The new way is with a continuous glucose monitor. You simply apply a discreet, easy-to-use sensor on your body. If you test your blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for a CGM with little or no cost to you. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
Now, surveys and studies and such brought to you by BetterCreditCards.com. A new study is playing violin music for hospital patients to see if it helps with their isolation and anxiety. Research found that music reduces anxiety and pain and loneliness. So they're working on a study right now to see if violin music played over the speakers will help in hospitals.
Well, that would be nice.
That'd be really cool.
For some people, though, I would think that would maybe make, if you don't enjoy that, it might be like,
it's not
this is
soothing,
driving me insane.
Yeah, if it's not soothing to you, so like,
right.
I don't like this. I don't dig it. So, yeah, I suppose.
They should give it as an option. Like, if you want to hear this, we can pipe it into your room. But
that's a good idea. Otherwise, it's like torture.
Right.
I don't want that.
Right.
All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. If you have a credit card, our friends at BetterCreditCards.com would like to make sure it's the best credit card for you. Take a few minutes to look at your current interest rate and then see what you get for points and perks. Then go to BetterCreditCards.com to see if they can help you find a better credit card. This will literally cost you nothing, and it could help you save money by getting a better credit card. Even if you don't have a credit card right now, you can check it out too at BetterCreditCards.com. That's BetterCreditCards.com. This is your Brain on Drugs, brought to you by TimeForRehab.com. A Norwegian man was fined and placed on probation for 18 months for driving a car just 6 feet while drunk. The man and his pregnant wife had just left a pub and decided that he was too drunk to drive. So she climbed behind the wheel, but had trouble steering the car out of a tight parking space. So he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll switch places, I'll get you out of the spot. He did that, climbed back into the passenger seat. His wife drove home. A cop who witnessed the incident followed them home.
Oh, wow.
Gave him a sobriety test. He was found to be legally drunk, and he got a ticket for getting the car out of the parking space.
That's not right, because he did the right thing by getting in the passenger seat.
And I think that's a little bit petty right there.
I think so, too. You know, that's unfortunate.
Now, I could see if he smashed into the car in front and behind and all of that. Yeah, that's a whole different story. But he got the vehicle out. His pregnant wife drove them home. I don't know. I think that, I don't know. Seems like a little bit much.
Yikes.
That happened in Norway, or Norwegia, but I think it's Norway. It was a Norwegian man. That is what happens when your brain is on drugs. Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. I got a bunch of them, Heidi. So first one here. Revised ratings show the Emmy Awards had even fewer viewers than they thought.
Yikes.
The fewest viewers in the show's history. So a lot of folks are saying, well, nobody really cares what you guys are saying right now, so go away.
Get off your high horse.
So I guess maybe that's what it is. Who knows? The iconic mafia drama, Goodfellas, turned 30 years old this week.
That's a great movie.
It is. Jim Carrey has confirmed rumors that he's going to be playing Joe Biden on this season of Saturday Night Live. And here's where we're going to spend our time. The season premiere of The Ellen Show beat the ratings predictions. Online it says, that's not the only thing that was beaten. Her entire staff was, too. I think that was really sad because a lot of people were chiming in saying mean things. But Ellen promised she's the same person backstage that you see on TV during her return to the show on Monday. She's been accused of creating a toxic work environment. And she's saying you're hearing their side of the story. Many of the people you're hearing this from are upset former employees. So keep that in mind. So I don't know. I hope that it's not as bad as what they say.
Because of the way they were treated, though. I mean, I don't know.
Rumors are rumors.
We're not there, so.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
If you take Viagra or Cialis, call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Call 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. Again, that's 800-214-7977.
Now, your scoop of the day. It comes your way, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. A Los Angeles artist is selling a scary Karen mask for Halloween. I've got a link to that. It's kind of an interesting idea.
Okay.
So they say instead of saying trick or treat, you're supposed to say, I need to see your manager. So I think that's kind of funny. A video of a group of anti-mask protesters parading through a Target in Florida, playing the song Twisted Sister, We're Not Going to Take It. That video has gone viral. Did I have to say that it was in Florida, or did we already know that? Because it says in the story, but we knew that. Video of Spirit Airlines employee telling a passenger that he could not wear a gaiter in place of a mask has gone viral. Now, I got to say, we flew. How many different flights were we on? Because we traveled, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 different legs. I wore a gaiter every single time. I never once had any issue. So I wonder if the gaiter he was wearing... I think it's
just each airline is different. Because they specifically said on our airline that the gaiters were fine. So each airline is creating their own...
If it was loose and wasn't fitting properly, I wonder, there's got to be more to this. I didn't see the video. I guess I could click here. You could too. It's in the show notes. A video of a massive 6-year-old boy dominating his opponents in a youth football game in Texas has gone viral. This 6-year-old is 5'1". How tall are you, Heidi?
5'5".
Yeah, so he's just a little shorter than you. And he's 130 pounds. How much do you weigh, Heidi?
Oh, we're not going there.
I'm just kidding. So anyway, he weighs twice as much as the average 6-year-old, and he's 5'1", and it is quite the sight. I've got a link to that video, by the way. Royal biographer quotes the late Princess Diana as saying, the only thing Prince Charles learned about love from his parents was shaking hands. Wow.
That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah. Prince Harry has joined an exclusive helicopter club in Los Angeles, plans to fly Meghan Markle and their son Archie around in a helicopter. And Alicia Keys revealed in an interview, this really sounds sad, says that she was supposed to grow up to be a drug addict or a prostitute, but music helped her break through. I'm sad to hear that she thought...
Why was she supposed to grow up?
I don't know. She's like, that's what I was destined to be, but music made it so I didn't have to.
I think it's sad that she's saying to the youth that if you're born in certain circumstances, you're destined to be this or that. And that's unfortunate. That's
the good news
really
is
sad.
She has done well, and you can too.
Anybody can.
Like Ron Perlman, billionaire. Well, now he's selling his yacht and his private jet and all of his art collection because coronavirus has damaged his net worth. But he's still listed as a billionaire. Why does he have to sell all the stuff if he's a billionaire? I don't know. And Taylor Hanson's wife, Natalie, is pregnant with baby number 7. Who is that? Do you know who that is?
No. I was just going to...
Okay.
I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to say it out loud because I was like, clearly it's somebody important.
Probably is. Now I look really dumb. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Nobody wants to buy car insurance. It's not a fun thing to think about, but it's something you need if you want to drive your car. So even if you don't want to buy insurance, you probably have to get it from someone. So why not buy it from InsuranceChicken.com? Okay, I'll admit, our website name is dumb. InsuranceChicken.com. Yeah, our marketing department is not that great. But our selection of insurance options is amazing. See if we can save you money each month on our dumb website, InsuranceChicken.com. That's InsuranceChicken.com. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Super excited to visit with author David Stebenne. He's got a new book called PromisedLand, How the Rise of the Middle Class Transformed America, 1929 to 1968. David, how are you, sir?
Very well, John. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Excited to have you on. So now that particular time frame, 1929 to 1968, was there a reason you wanted to do a snapshot of that time frame, or just that's kind of the time frame that worked out for this book?
Well, the Great Depression is the beginning of a process that helps the middle class revive and expand. And so that's in 1929 is when the stock market crashed and the Great Depression began. And it goes through 1968 when the system that grew out of that middle class era began to have all kinds of problems, and the world changed in 1968. So that's the reason for that basically 40-year period. And if you're wondering what the Great Depression would mean for middle class people, it changed people's priorities. In other words, it created sort of very high unemployment, double-digit unemployment for a decade, and it just, most Americans want freedom and security. Maybe most people around the world want some of each. The really interesting question is, which is more emphasized? What do people want more at any given time? And when the Great Depression came along and high unemployment, it created much more insecurity across the society and greatly increased the preference for stability and security in people's lives. And that helped set in motion changes that made the middle class bigger and stronger.
So as we take a look at that snapshot, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and most of the 60s, is there a time in there where...
Right.
Is there a time during those, like a decade that was like the decade that we saw the biggest increase in the middle class?
I would say it's really the period from the mid-1940s to the mid-1960s, so that 20-year period. And World War II had something to do with this as well, because you can wage wars in different ways. World War II was waged in a kind of egalitarian way, in the sense that the mandatory military service, that paid well. The USGI was probably the best paid GI in the world. A lot of jobs were created in factories to support the war, and those were well-paid jobs. And the unemployment rate fell to almost nothing during the war. And the war went on for about 4 years in the States. And people were cautious. In other words, they had endured the 30s, and so the money that they made, they tended to save. And so coming out of the war, which ended in the summer of 45, people had savings. The middle class had accumulated substantial amounts of money. And what did they do with it? They bought homes, they bought furniture, and they didn't spend a lot of money in restaurants. I mean, they bought things that lasted, and they formed families. And Americans have always married, for example, at a very high rate. What changes is their propensity to stay married. And that was such a stability and security-minded generation. They tended to stay married at a much higher rate, and that also can bring with it more security. And so there's this period from about 1945 to 1965, which is really the heyday of this. They also had loads of kids. In other words, they prioritized family life, and because middle-class incomes were high, it was possible for a broad swath of the middle to have 3 or 4 kids and feed them and clothe them and send them to school and so on. And not everything about that era was better, right? In other words, there were fewer, there was less individual choices, less individuality. It was more of a group-minded era. But if you were focused on getting married, staying married, having kids, so on, and you weren't excessively materialistic, you were sort of interested in a sort of moderate lifestyle, that era tended to work for you.
Now, this era would also, I think a lot of people refer to this like as the good old days. You know, they always talk about back in the good old days. So there were some things that were good in the good old days. Of course, like you mentioned, not everything was good in the good old days. But during this little time frame, this is, you know, what I think of as Leave It to Beaver and, you know, when you watch like the Andy Griffith Show and that kind of stuff, a lot of that type of thing happened during this time frame.
That's right. And much of this has to do with the movement of income to the broad middle class, especially the white members of the broad middle class. So when TV emerged in the 1950s, the income equality had greatly increased, and sort of middle-class white folks had a much larger fraction of national income than they do now. And so much of the TV programming of that era was set up, aimed at those kinds of consumers. And, of course, advertising is what drives TV. And the interiors, the homes, and so on depicted also were very middle class in the sense that they didn't have lots of expensive things in them, but they were set in houses and so on. And there's the suburban version, Leave It to Beaver. One of the most popular shows, though, was set on a farm, and that's Lassie. And again, it's sort of a middle-class farm family, and there they are. And what's interesting about those shows, in more recent decades, one of the most popular TV shows is called Friends, and that kind of show did not exist in that era. What those shows were really about were families. Right? Never was the middle-class family more central to American life, economically, politically, and culturally. So, again, if you're not into family life, if you're sort of a stubborn loner or whatever, then the era was sort of off-putting. But if you enjoyed family life and saw that as the central thing that most people enjoyed, the popular culture, the advertising, the TV shows of that era reflected your preferences. Now, the part that is more disturbing is how overwhelmingly white the middle class looked and was to a degree. In other words, there were middle-class black folks. Michelle Obama, growing up, was a middle-class black person, Michelle Robinson as she was in those days. But the black members of the middle class could not live in suburbia, generally speaking. And that became a very serious social problem in the later 1960s as city centers declined and employment opportunities declined there because most black folks were shut out of that booming suburban version. And so there, again, and I could go on. In other words, there are other drawbacks. It was very much a male breadwinner model. In other words, dad tended to go off and earn the income, and mom stayed home and raised the kids. And for middle-class families, that could be a very functional arrangement, especially when the kids were young. And people tended to have kids at an early age. The average rate of marriage was in the low 20s for both men and women. But the point is the kids grew up, and that became a real problem for millions of American moms who all of a sudden no longer had anything to do in terms of child rearing. That went away. And so one of the interesting questions raised by the book, one of the reasons I wrote it is, sort of, if we want to imagine what a new and improved version would look like in the 21st century, we need to have a clear idea of sort of the drawbacks as well as the positives. And there were some drawbacks, so that's why it didn't last forever.
Absolutely.
But you are absolutely right, especially in the Midwest. This is viewed as a basically positive time, one that's viewed with nostalgia.
The book is called Promised Land, How the Rise of the Middle Class Transformed America, 1929 to 1968. It's available right now. I'm going to throw a link to that in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. The new way is with a continuous glucose monitor. You simply apply a discreet, easy-to-use sensor on your body. If you test your blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for a CGM with little or no cost to you. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The average woman apologizes about 5 times every day. Do you apologize that often?
No.
How often do you think the average man apologizes?
I have no idea. Does it say?
Yeah. 3 to 4 times every day.
Really?
Yeah. So women apologize 1 or 2 times more per day than men do. I'm really sorry that I had to be the bearer of that bad news.
Yeah, I don't
See, that was me
apologize unless I need to apologize.
All right, there you go. I've got that as today's fun fact. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. If you have a credit card, our friends at bettercreditcards.com would like to make sure it's the best credit card for you. Take a few minutes to look at your current interest rate and then see what you get for points and perks. Then go to bettercreditcards.com to see if they can help you find a better credit card. This will literally cost you nothing, and it could help you save money by getting a better credit card. Even if you don't have a credit card right now, you can check it out too at bettercreditcards.com. That's bettercreditcards.com. Time now for a news headline from somewhere in this world. Dateline England. A man walked into a store in England and grabbed a banana from the counter. Then he placed it inside of his sweatshirt and pretended the banana was a gun.
Oh.
Lucky for the thief, the clerk didn't see him steal the banana and assumed he really had a gun. And he made off with some money and some cigarettes. But then when they, watched the video back, they're like, wait a minute. That's not a gun. He just grabbed a banana. So, yeah, either way, still a robbery. Bad idea.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't even think it. Terrible idea. But that is a news headline from somewhere in this world.
If you take Viagra or Cialis, call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Call 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. Again, that's 800-214-7977.
Now some weird news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com, and they have their countdown to Halloween going on right now. So there's several Halloween-y kind of things going. Does it seem too early for Halloween? Does to me, but
It does, because that's not until the end of
next month.
Yeah.
But it's like a month and a half away, so yeah, I suppose.
All the Halloween stores are opening up.
Yeah,
so.
and it's like a month and like 5 days away. I don't know. It's getting pretty close. Anyway, a Louisiana man has been found to get himself in a little bit of trouble because he had a loaded pistol in his tailpipe, we'll say.
Oh.
Yeah, when he was arrested.
Oh. That would be uncomfortable.
24-year-old Justin Savoy copped to a pair of felony counts and misdemeanor charges in connection with his arrest late last year at a residence. It says here, a 5-year suspended prison sentence on the felony conviction during a district court sentencing. He was placed on 3 years probation, ordered to serve 90 days. He had a .25 caliber Titan pistol concealed in his rear.
Holy cow.
The handgun,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. The handgun had a 2.5-inch barrel and measured 4.375 inches long and was loaded.
Oh, geez.
After his arrest, police told the local media, whoever thought a 25 caliber pistol would be an assault weapon.
I see what happened.
That's
there.
what they did, and I said assault is all I said. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Now your moment of duh, brought to you by InsuranceChicken.com. Canadian man has been charged with a dangerous driving stunt. I don't know if that's what you'd call it exactly. He took a nap while his car was driving. He has a self-driving Tesla.
Okay.
He was going 90 miles an hour while taking a nap. Both front seats were fully reclined. When police pulled up behind the gentleman in Alberta, they turned on their emergency lights and other vehicles moved out of the way. The Tesla then sped up. The 20-year-old driver is due in court in December, initially charged with speeding and handed a 24-hour license suspension, subsequently charged with dangerous driving. It says nobody was looking out the windshield. They didn't know where the car was going. He said he had put on the emergency lights. The officer did. The Tesla accelerated to get out of the way of the emergency vehicle.
Right.
So anyway, nobody appeared to be in the car, but the vehicle sped up because the line was clear in front of them, and there was an emergency, the car thought, behind them. So it was trying to get out of the way, so apparently that's what happens. Bad idea.
Well, you can't sleep. I mean,
no.
just
and it says that's in the manual, everything they tell
Yeah.
you, and you still need to be there. You need to be patient, you need to be vigilant, all of that. I just think they just make that function go away.
I just don't even know why it's a thing. I mean, drive your car.
Yeah. This is today's moment of duh, brought to you by InsuranceChicken.com. Nobody wants to buy car insurance. It's not a fun thing to think about, but it's something you need if you want to drive your car. So even if you don't want to buy insurance, you probably have to get it from someone. So why not buy it from InsuranceChicken.com? Okay, I'll admit, our website name is dumb. InsuranceChicken.com. Yeah, our marketing department is not that great. But our selection of insurance options is amazing. See if we can save you money each month on our dumb website, InsuranceChicken.com. That's InsuranceChicken.com. Time now for Fake News or Florida. Heidi, tell me, is this a true story from the great state of Florida, or is it fake news made up to trick you and amuse me? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Fake news or Florida? Florida man was arrested after he reportedly murdered someone and brought their skull into a grocery store and used it as a puppet. Fake news or Florida?
Oh, I'm going to say fake news.
Sadly, it's a true story.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
What is wrong with these people? Is that the most insane thing ever?
That's one of the craziest things
Yeah.
I've ever heard.
I went into a store, used a severed head as a puppet.
I wonder what he was making it say.
I have no idea. Is there something that he could say that would make it right? Nothing. Nothing at all.
No, but I'm just wondering.
Oh, I don't know either. What a weird story. This is today's Fake News or Florida on the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. Comes your way courtesy of BetterCreditCards.com. Now, we don't talk about sports around here very often. Why is that, Heidi?
Because neither one of us knows anything at all about sports.
We don't know nothing about nothing. But this happens to be a sports person, but it has nothing to do with sports. Juju Smith-Schuster's act of kindness for man in need is caught on camera. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler kicker, or a Pittsburgh... See, I'm already in trouble. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler player, and they kicked off the 2020 season against the New York Giants. Anyway, he caught some touchdowns, did his team a solid, but we're not talking about what he did on the field. What we're talking about, thank goodness, because I don't know anything about sports, is something
you couldn't tell. That sounded pretty polished. And
should I be up? Should
ESPN.
I send that to Sports Center and see if I get a gig? No, it's not going to happen. Well, there was a Steelers fan that filmed him supplying a man who was sitting on a bucket. He went over and handed him a warm meal. It says, Megan Suter told the fan that she was sitting at a table when she noticed this gentleman speaking with a man in need, asked him if he wanted something to eat before he walked into Chipotle. When he came back out, she grabbed her camera, got it ready, and stressed this was not staged at all. She said, I was there, I was filming. He didn't even know I was filming. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of tell from the camera angle, it doesn't look like she was standing there, looking at him back and forth. But she said it was just so awesome to see him be kind to somebody in need.
It's awesome to see anybody be kind to somebody in need. If you have the ability to help anyone.
Absolutely.
Help.
You don't need to be a star, was it football player?
Yeah, I think it was football, yeah.
It was. There's a picture. I saw a photo here. You don't have to be a star football player to be a hero, to be the star. Just go out of your way to help somebody today. Mm-hmm. I double dog dare you. Think that's going to help?
Probably not.
All right. Well, you should do something nice, too. Go do something nice, Heidi. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. I'm going to go do something nice. What are you going to do?
I'm going to do something nice.
There you go. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.